Well, we are continuing to track Hurricane Florence. Georgia now declares a state of emergency as the storm approaches. It's projected to create a storm surge along the coast of North Carolina. Life-threatening flooding is expected, and at least 25 million people are all in Florence's path. We're joined now by Ken Graham. He's the director of the National Hurricane Center in Miami. So, Ken, give us a sense of what the latest track is of the storm.
Yeah, Hurricane Florence still a very large storm, very dangerous storm. And the latest track we're looking at is really starting to slow down. You know, we start looking at approaching landfall and then spending days right along the coast. And, you know, you look at these times, the first one, 8 p.m. on Thursday. We look at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even into Monday. Not very fast. So this thing is slowing down, and that's gonna cause more problems because you talk about tropical storm force winds about 170 miles out from the center. And think about that over land with a lot of rainfall, this storm surge, and all that wind. You're going to have a lot of trees down, a lot of power outages, so pretty big impact, very dangerous storm.
You know, we focused a lot on North and South Carolina, but Georgia, a big concern now, declaring that state of emergency. What are you most concerned about with Georgia?
I think looking at Georgia, I mean, this is an interesting graphic when we really start to look at, you know, the onset of tropical storm force winds. You need to think not just the center, but how large this system is. And this is the arrival of those tropical storm force winds by Thursday morning reaching the coast. But look with time, even spreading inward, and even for Georgia over the weekend, seeing some of those tropical storm force winds. But it's not just that, it's the rainfall. And the rainfall is an interesting concept because it can move at times when you talk about movement in the actual track. So right now we're looking at some large amounts along the coast, 20 to even 40 inches, which is staggering, and even into Georgia, some of these values in South Carolina. But what happens is small jogs in that track can move some of these higher values in different directions. So that's why we're really looking at that storm surge, that rain, and that slow movement. And that's why the preparedness part of this is extremely important at this stage.
You know, you mentioned storm surge and why it can be just so devastating. But as the storm moves further inland, what kind of issues are we expecting with that?
Yeah, you start saturating the ground to get a lot of rainfall, and we go back to the actual track graphic because I think it shows it the best. This is our track area. This is actually the cone. You can actually have the center in any one of these areas. That includes a big portion of Georgia. So with time, you add up that rain. It starts to saturate the soil, and then you start having, even on Monday, still a depression here. So you get the high winds plus the saturated soil. You can have a lot of trees down and power outages in any one of these given areas.
Ken Graham, grateful you could join us, Ken.
You bet.